What is something about the experience of the person sitting next to you you would most like to experience yourself just to know what it's like?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I'm not sure we've ever had that.
I like the question, actually.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Guys, I got to tell you, this show and these characters and your performances really mean a lot to me. So seriously, thank you for both for taking the time.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Yeah, I know obviously while your characters exist in the same universe, you're on the same show. I would imagine by nature of how different your characters are, your experiences as actors working on this show, I'd imagine, are vastly different. So I'm really curious, what is something about the experience of the person sitting next to you you would most like to experience yourself just to know what it's like?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I'm not sure we've ever had that. I mean, thinking about the season that's just about to come out, it felt like the sets that we were inhabiting were so different so much of the time. Like I never even really went into Gracie Mansion, as it were.
Yeah.
And that world was so different from so many of the kind of dirty, gritty places that I found myself in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just like to be able to jump on shit and jump off shit. Like, honestly, he's like so amazing at it that yeah, that would be really cool.
If the writers right now are listening, they're just writing, they're like, have Wilson jump off shit. They're just going to write that down. Obviously, Wilson Fisk makes a brief reference to a kid dressed like a spider in the second episode, which is a reminder that while this is an intimate street level story, there are a lot of superheroes out there. Since your characters exist in that world, even if we don't always hear it, do you have to decide what your characters think of other Marvel characters? Like, do you know what Daredevil thinks of Thor or what Wilson Fisk thinks of Iron Man?
Well, I know what Wilson Fisk thinks of Iron Man because Robert's a good friend of mine. But not really. I've never really thought like that before. But
what does Wilson Fisk think of Iron Man?
He's one of the best actors ever. You know, that's what I think.
Charlie, what about you? Like, how far out is Matt sort of aware of the different sort of moving parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah, I think it's as you say, it's really fun to kind of to live in a world where there are these people, these superheroes who are coexisting and disrupting, and you could turn a corner and interact with one of them. That's I think the fans love that, and it's part of the everything being connected that is kind of so much fun when you're in the Marvel family. That I'm not sure that I go as far as to have opinions about. I mean, obviously, Peter Parker and Matt Murdock are great friends in the comic books, and so that's an easy one. But I don't know if I go as far as to think about the day-to-day kind of opinions and relationships, mainly because that would mean having to somehow have a grasp on the timeline of everything, and I don't want to get into that. That's too complicated.
Fair enough. This show does a really great job of making us see the difference between Matt Murdock and Daredevil, a difference between Wilson Fisk and Kingpin even, which I think is interesting. I'm curious, when you're walking on set at the beginning of a long day of shooting, or maybe walking off set after a long day of shooting, what is the difference walking on or off having played Matt and Wilson versus having played Daredevil or Kingpin?
Well, I when I'm walking off as Daredevil, I'm walking much slower. I'm creaky. My body is making more noises, and I'm needing more anti-inflammatories.
Fair enough. Mr. D'Onofrio, is there a difference between sort of? I know the line is blurred a little bit more so between.
No,
Wilson Fisk and...
I get what you're saying. I like the question actually. It's when he's full on Kingpin, it's sort of the same thing that Charlie just said. It's like, I'm glad I get to go home now. It's like that. That's how I feel. When he's just Fisk trying to navigate this world that he's in, it's more like, it's an easier day,
I'll cut you guys loose on this. I can't think of what the film was, but there was a great story I think that Henry Fonda used to tell that he shot a movie where he had to kill John Wayne, and afterwards people would come up to him and it changed his fan interactions. Like after he had to kill John Wayne on camera, fans came up to him and treated him differently.
That's funny.
And I'm sort of curious, have you guys noticed, just by nature of how wildly different your characters are, does it yield different fan interactions, different fan encounters, or are fans of the show just fans of the show?
No, they're all fans of the show for sure, and fans of Charlie and I for sure. But if you go to a Comic-Con with him, it's clear, like very clear, that the audience does, specify who they like the most.
That's not true. That's not true. I don't agree with that. Yeah, it's funny when you get like it's funny when you get fans who have an opinion about something that was done or some scene that they did not like. It's and you can take the brunt of that that opinion.
Yeah, Eldon gets that.
Yeah, Eldon gets it a lot.
Yeah.
Guys, they're pulling me out here. I just want to end by saying thank you. As someone who was raised on these characters, who grew up worshiping these characters, I can't think of a better version than what you guys have given us and continue to give us. So
thank
just
you
on behalf
much.
of
So
fans,
cool.
I just want to say thank you.
Next time you should lead with that.
I'll start with that at the top.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll start with that. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
See you,
Have a
man.
good day.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.